Hi, I'm Jono Morrow, past president of ARA.
Hi, I'm Tom Andrade from Everett Auto Parts in Brockton, Massachusetts.
In today's episode, we're going to be looking at Everett Self-Serve and Tire Center.
So now we're in the self-service yard. All of the vehicles that we just processed that were going to be set in the yard will be brought out. When the machine brings out a vehicle, he'll also bring back another vehicle to go to scrap process.
So it's one in, one out.
One in, one out.
Got it.
We set about 30 vehicles a day in this yard. Okay. This yard holds about 650 vehicles. As you can see, it's broken down in sections.
Yeah.
We lay out by make and model.
Okay, so that's how you do it.
A lot of yards, you know, there's varying schools of thought. Some lay out by date, some lay out by make only, some lay out by make and model. We chose to go the make and model route because it's much easier for a customer to look at those two vehicles and know that those two taillights are the same.
Sure.
Having a customer try to figure out interchange doesn't always work so well. So it's
not even for our full service people.
True. So it's definitely more labor intensive to do it this way, but ultimately we think it's easier for the customer. So we're broken down by make and model.
Yep.
We relayed the yard a couple of years ago to really put the common stuff that the customers are really interested in.
What is that here for you guys? What do you guys see more of that?
Probably the same as most yards.
Okay.
Toyotas, Hondas, Chevy trucks, Ford trucks.
So you guys break it down by Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, not just imports.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So there's a yard map at the front, one of those typical mall "you are here" maps.
Yeah.
So we have that, and it'll list out all the makes and models where they are. We laid it out so section 1 has all of the European vehicles in it. So you will have Mercedes and BMW and
because you're not buying so many of them, I guess, right?
Correct.
Yep.
And then some of your larger sections, like Honda, has almost the majority of the section. Chryslers don't do very well, so you only see 2 rows of Chryslers in the whole yard. They just happen to be right behind you.
Okay.
So then you have your Nissans and Infinitis together and that type of stuff. So we tried to make it as customer friendly as possible, so they didn't need to go all the way to the back of the yard to get the uncommon stuff that nobody really wants.
Sure. So when you said you did it by make, right?
Correct.
So when they are bringing when a car gets processed and gets brought from process to in here, they obviously have a row they're working on, like the next row, right? Like for Chrysler has 2 rows, so I'm guessing
not necessarily a row.
Okay.
We're gonna set individual vehicles by what's needed. So we may clean out a whole row. So over in the processing area, my operator has a couple of staging areas where he can put done vehicles that need to be set in the yard.
Oh, like a pending area.
Correct. So
Okay.
he has one on this side of the yard and one on this side of the yard. So what he'll do is he'll go through and see what's needed. We may set an entire Camry row on a Friday and have to completely change it on Monday because the weekend was so busy.
And just based on what you had coming in and all that stuff. Understood. I mean, once again, every business in the industry is just a little bit different on how they want to operate.
When you have 100 vehicles a day coming in, hopefully you get a lot of repetition on the things that really mean something to you.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it goes to scrap. So we try to keep enough in reserves to replace the high volume, high picked vehicles.
Do you ever bring any cars from your full service into here as well?
We do. It's probably the exception, not the rule, but it does happen. So when vehicles go into the full service yard, it really depends on what it is. If it's what we consider an A vehicle and we're going to keep it for a while, it's probably going to get picked pretty clean in the full service yard. But if it's something that we bought just for all we have for demand is a drivetrain, we may pull the engine and then put the body into the self service yard.
Gotcha. And so 650 cars is what you said, right? Roughly?
Correct.
So of those cars, you're putting 30 in roughly a day, pulling 30 out a day.
The yard essentially turns in a month.
Wow. Yeah, it makes sense.
Again, not industry average. The industry average of how long to set a car is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But we are dealing with limited space. I only have the ability for 650 cars, so it does need to change a little more frequently.
Do you track what is like obviously? Well, I shouldn't say obviously. What is the big sellers in the U-Pull for parts for your U-Pull?
We're a little bit of an anomaly there because we don't seem to sell a lot of engines and transmissions like a lot of southern yard, like a lot of warm weather climate yards do.
Yeah.
We sell, headlights, tail lights, door mirrors, regulators, And then you get into your hard parts. You're selling starters and alternators and compressors, and I mean, there's some guys that'll still buy used rotors. So it varies by vehicle, but those are the common part types.
Do you sell warranties to these?
We do. In here? We do. So we sell extended warranties on both self-service as well as full service.
Yep.
We only do extended part warranties on the self-service side. We do extended part and labor on the full service side.
Do you allow what is allowed in here? Can they bring reciprocating saws in here to cut stuff here?
we will allow saws to come in. We don't allow any flames.
Okay.
So there's no handheld torches. There's nothing like that. We provide customers with wheelbarrows so that they can get their tools out here and get their parts back to the cashier easier. We give them wheelbarrows and jacks.
Yep.
So they have to leave a license to get a wheelbarrow. We have if they get one with a jack, we have floor jacks with jack stands welded right to them, so they make sure that they secure the vehicle when it's up in the air.
So one of the things that you do when the processing that you talked about is you take all of the wheels and tires off.
Correct.
And I didn't know how that was going to look, but now that I see it, I understand why it's okay, because you're not fighting to get the wheel and tire off. It's already off the car.
Correct.
And the car is probably not going to move as it was sitting on its rotors and whatnot.
And then, like I said, we provide jacks for them. So
if they want to get the rotor or something,
if they want to get something underneath, they can.
So in the winter, everything's cold, the ground's frozen, the car's sitting in the ground. How do you get it out? What does that do to the ground? Or
well, if it's going to be junked, it's not an issue, and the loader just picks it up and takes it away.
Yeah.
When there's heavy snow, it definitely is a problem. That's why you don't see a lot of cold weather climate pull-it yards.
Yeah.
Customers, it's amazing what you see for customers on snowstorms. We could have a blizzard. We're generally open by 8 o'clock in the morning, and there are guys in snowsuits out here pulling parts. You have to really need a part at that point, because it's cold and it's snowing and it's wet, but we do have customers on those days.
What's funny
Not
is
a lot, but some.
In Virginia, if they call for snow, then the entire federal government just shuts down. So here you guys are actually pulling parts
what we
blizzard.
What we generally do in a snowstorm, so we'll plow all the main roadways, and we'll dig out vehicles as needed. It really depends on the amount of snow. If you remember, several years ago, we had a horrible winter. We had a foot and a half snowstorm every week for like 6 or 8 weeks. We had no choice at that point but to pick up every vehicle in the row except the last one, move them out, plow the snow onto and over the end vehicle, and then replace the other vehicles in the row. So at least we were only impacting one vehicle, and the customers could pick from everything else in the row.
But that's like an exception, right?
That's the exception.
So
usually it gets matted down pretty quick, and guys
it'll sit there till it melts.
Right back to business in a couple of days.
When you have your customers coming in, do you have a entrance fee?
We don't. We do not charge an entrance fee.
That's different.
It is.
Do they sign in, or is there a sign-in process?
We do have a sign-in waiver.
Okay. Now because that's funny. I've actually heard people in the industry. So this is a good conversation piece that we should have. Is I know that are people that are actually charging more than they were for entry fees. So I don't know what you guys are doing that are in the self-serve model, but Tom has taken it in a very different direction, and that's to not charge one. We've
taken it in a different direction because we do have a competitor that allows people in his yard, and he does not charge an entrance fee. So if it was completely up to us in a vacuum, yeah, we would be charging an entrance fee.
But based on your environment and your competitive area, you've got to do what you got to do. And you've got high turnover. I see cars in here that could easily be sitting in a full service yard.
Yes.
When the customer comes in, do they have an idea of where the cars may be located, or do you have them inventory by car, or?
The repeat customers know what they're doing. They don't talk to anyone. They walk through the door and they go to work. The customers that have never been here before or unfamiliar with a salvage yard, they'll ask questions and we'll tell them where in the yard those vehicles are located.
Have you had any issues with people wandering?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Okay.
We groups of kids, we run out and have to corral them and bring them down front and
wow.
Because
I see the sign
for breaking glass. They do.
You break it, you pay for it. I'm guessing that's just being malicious in the yard.
Malicious.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. You can't stop any of the dashboard destruction so they can get the radio out. It just happens. It's the nature of this business. that sign is for the malicious stuff.
Someone taking a rotor and saying how many times I can bounce it off.
I had a Facebook review not that long ago. You know, they basically say, well, they get the cars for free. Why do they have to charge so much money?
Of course we do. You guys do. I know you do get them for free. Yeah, right. And there's no overhead, right?
Yeah. No, I
don't
have to. Everybody here works for no pay.
It's great, isn't it?
I have zero payroll.
There are a couple things you do here that are really unique. I think that not having an interest fee is a really good idea for people who that encourages people to come in. You have the warranty opportunity. They can buy on parts here. You've got the high turnover on products, so they always know they can come here and see fresh inventory. I'm sure you have not just retail customers, but commercial accounts that come to your self-serve looking for parts to fix cars that they have in their shops, right?
We do, especially when you put something later model out here, and it's a common car that they work on. They'll come in and just pre-buy stuff. They don't even have an active repair for it.
Sure. Now, I've heard some people in the self-serve world talk about, like we talked about the malicious people who just want to cause problems. There have been some situations where people have actually caused fires in the yard intentionally.
It's happened here.
Now, what do you do in those situations?
Put the fire out.
Put the fire out. That's a good thing. I mean, is it like, do you have anything on hand to do it, or is it kind of just...
you know, we have cameras all through the facility, so, you know, we try to figure out who it is, but usually when that happens, by the time the smoke is seen and the flames are seen and we respond, that person's already gone. Same thing with breaking glass.
Sure.
So, you know, we try to, usually there's some good people out there, and they'll run down and tell us that, you know, someone's breaking glass or doing something stupid. The fire things only happened once or twice over the years. You know, sometimes once intentional, once unintentional.
Is it just something where you just separate the car from the bunch, let it burn out, or do you have a way to suppress the fire on your own?
We have a full fire crew, fire procedure, fire truck, the whole 9 yards. So if it happened,
cool. You have a fire truck?
Yes. If it happened,
I wanted to hear you right. Okay.
If it not an actual, you know, fire engine pumper truck, but we have a truck that we built
You have a truck designed for
we have a flatbed dually, painted red, with a water tank and fire hose, foam suppression, the whole 9 yards.
Gosh. So that's something that, you know, we've talked for so many years. We've talked about thermal events in yards, fire, and the absolute destruction it can cause to any of the facilities, self-serve, full serve, scrapyard. But what Tom has and his team has here is he's got a fire prevention plan, you said?
Correct.
You got a team, they've got their own fire truck. I think it's an opportunity for us to self-evaluate. We've talked about fires a lot. We talk about the destruction it can cause and the devastation to sales, revenue. What are we doing? What do you have in place? And this is something that I think a lot of people could grow from, like seeing what you do or just building a plan themselves.
So in any of the high risk areas, like our processing area or our dismantling building, we have regular fire extinguishers that everybody else would have.
Sure.
Water fire extinguishers, chemicals. Each dismantling bay has special foam fire extinguishers.
Okay.
And then each bay has 50-pound airport style fire extinguishers in each bay. And then we also have a water truck and we have a fire truck. So our water truck is just basically a 3,000, you know, like a 3,000 gallon water, like an agriculture truck. And then we have our fire truck. So the fire truck, when fire is called over the radio, everybody responds. Fire truck gets to the scene. We try to put it down with water first of all, and it may not be. So we have quick connect hoses, and we have a foam suppression system. So we'll start spraying the fire down with foam. So we're pretty good. We're pretty good at it.
Sounds like you got it all. Like you've got a plan, right?
Yeah.
And the goal is to not let it happen. It sounds like it's very rare here, but if it does happen, you got it under control.
Yeah, and you end up with a couple a year. It's just kind of the nature of the business.
Sure. I mean, it sounds like it.
If it was in the yard, you know, the loader would respond, move the other vehicles out of the way, and isolate that vehicle so it doesn't spread to others. So
we're sitting here, and I'm happy. I know we're in the self-serve still, but I see truck beds.
Yes.
Are those for self-serve people, or is this just
those beds are actually inventoried, so anybody could buy them. A self-service customer could buy them. A full-service customer could buy them.
And those prices a standard bed price, or do they have their own price?
No, those are general. All the parts in this yard are priced by part type. So a headlight off of a BMW is the same price as off of a Camry. The beds are a little different. The beds are a little
I mean, you
bit.
can't have a Tacoma bed sell for the same thing as a rusted off
They're
Ford,
a
right?
little bit closer to fair market value.
Yeah.
So we entered the self-service yard from the rear because we came from processing. This is the front where the customers would come through the sales office. So as soon as they get out the door, they have a huge selection of tires that they can purchase.
Hold on. The tires are good, but this is neat too. I'm totally catching you off guard here. Not off guard, but this is what we do with our antifreeze, right?
Yes.
So free antifreeze, no limit.
Correct.
And is it you? Do people come and get it?
They do.
Wow.
They do.
And they bring their own containers. They fill it up.
We actually provide containers as well. So
Okay, so you have either way. They can bring the container.
There's a Gaylord box there that we have buckets in. So when we take the gallon jugs and stuff out of vehicles, we fill a bucket. When that bucket's emptied, we bring down another one.
So do your customers have a place to wash their hands? I just thought of that. I'm up here.
Yep.
Washing hands and stuff like that, or
when the weather's warm, there's an outdoor sink, and
Yeah.
then a few years ago we built a full restroom for customers and employees.
really?
Yeah.
So that's got to be something. I'd like once again an added bonus for
That
people
was
coming.
absolutely one of the things. Whenever we look at Facebook reviews or Yelp reviews, we always get very clean, very neat, very organized. The thing that we got dinged on a lot was a restroom, and we went the outhouse route for years, and my father was adamant about an outdoor building.
Yeah.
And we finally did it. It cost a lot of money to do it, but it was one of the better things that we've ever done on the customer service side.
That's good to know. And I think that's something that we sometimes in the self-service world, it seems like there's a lot of times we're just trying to stretch that dollar as far as it'll go, right? And so the customer service aspect, we try to give it to them on the price of the product being so good, or the ease of using the yard. But really, sometimes it's the amenities that really are going to set you apart. So I don't know what you're doing. If you've got an opportunity or the ability to put a better facility in for your customers or a hand washing station, it might go a long way. It seems like it has here.
It does. So on the tires,
Yeah.
so the tires that get processed off the vehicles get brought down in a roll-off.
Okay.
We have some guys that break down tires, and then we have some other guys that actually sort tires, grade them, and price them. So we have standard pricing for tires, just like we do for any other part type in the self-service
Sure.
yard. They're priced by size, and all of the far racks are singles.
Okay.
So they're individual prices, and then we have pairs on the other rack, and then we have all of the sets.
And the sets are priced by the same people who are kind
Correct.
of pricing. Okay.
Correct.
This is and so if they wanted a set of tires, what do they do?
So we have a couple of bells. There's a bell right on. Usually there's somebody out here,
Yeah.
and if there's not, there's a tire assistance bell. They ring it. One of the guys will come out, help them find the size that they need. The racks are laid out by specific sizes.
Yeah.
The pairs and sets, not so much. They're kind of intermingled a little bit. So they will help them find the size that they need, and then they'll bring them into the showroom for them so they can pay for them. And then if they want mounting service, we have a full service tire shop across the street.
Oh wow. Okay. So the tires by size are individually priced.
Correct.
By size. The sets are priced as a set. This one has the aftermarket rims on it, so they probably left them on there if someone just wanted the rims set to throw in their car. Man, this is you probably you have to move a lot of tires.
We do.
I mean, if you process this many cars.
We do.
Oh my gosh. So on and this is your number one seller as well, but you're putting a lot of energy and effort into getting these tires ready.
Correct.
So I think that's something for self-service people. We once again, every business has a different way of doing certain things. In the self-service world, people handle tires so differently. The common thing is tires are always your number one seller, right? And so you have gone to the effort of giving the customer an easier way of getting the tires versus like take the tire and wheel, you break it down, then you bring me back the wheel.
Correct.
And that's great for your labor, but it's not great for the customer, right?
No,
the experience is not as good.
You will sell far more tires in a setup like this where it's easy for the customer than they have to take one off of a vehicle in the yard,
take it home,
come down, and I've seen some yards that actually have manual tire machines to de-rim it.
So how many tire machines do you need, and people do you have assigned to just doing tires?
So there's about 5 guys that handle most of the tires.
Okay.
So one guy breaks tires all day long. He averages about 300 tires a day.
He's at 300 tires.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
He's a piecework guy.
Really? So it's okay.
He's a piecework guy. So he'll dismount them. We'll keep some of the rims for inventory. The rest of the rims go into big hoppers, and we dump them in roll-offs to sell the scrap.
Yeah.
Then there's a couple of other guys that will take the tires out. We'll put the junk tires into roll-offs to get rid of the junk tires.
Do you sell those, or you have to pay to get rid of them?
No, you have to pay to get rid of them.
Okay.
We're no different than anybody else.
I just wasn't sure if you had like a secret sauce to that too.
And then the other guys will grade the tires. They'll combine sets and pairs and put out the singles. And we try to mark on them, in big bold letters
what the
sizes are, just to make everything easier. This was an acquisition probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
We purchased the house and the garage, and we turned it into a tire center. The original idea was to capture all of the lost labor from the tire sales at the front counter, which we did that. In the beginning, we stocked used tires, so we had a little bit more of a price premium on those tires, so customers could buy tires across the street.
Yep.
We transport them over here to have the labor done. We'll take them off the vehicle, mount them, balance them, reinstall them, do TPMS sensors, tire repairs, anything like that. And then we had some new tires, and then it morphed into just new tires. So what we primarily do here is mount used tires that we sell across the street, and then we also sell new tires. So we have a lot of customers that we generate from our existing customer base, and now we're getting customers knowing us as a tire shop, and they just come here to put tires on their vehicle or their child's vehicle or a commercial vehicle.
So they're coming here to get new tires because they know it's the place to go.
New tires as well as used.
How many sales do you think you're maintaining, or how many more sales are you having on used tires because you can mount and balance them? Would you say it's doubled?
No. I mean, I think a lot of people, when we didn't provide the service, we always provided it across the street. We would always mount it on a rim.
Oh, you would do that?
We didn't, and we still do. We don't provide balancing, and we don't provide the R&R on the vehicle. So most of the people, I wouldn't say a lot of people left because we didn't provide the mounting service. They bought the tires anyway, and they brought them to all the local shops that would mount used tires.
So you're just losing that opportunity.
So we were losing that labor. So now we don't lose that labor, and we're also attracting a new section of customers that are actually just here to buy new tires.
Sure. So Tom, at this site, how many tires are you doing a day?
On average, weekdays 60, up around 100 on weekends, on Saturdays.
Wow. So this is, they're definitely not short on work.
We originally started with these 2 bays, and then we converted the building across the road and opened up 2 more bays. So when there is overflow and a bunch of customers, we have another spot to do it in.
Yeah. So this wasn't a tire shop when you bought it.
This was a repair garage.
Oh, repair garage.
This was the office, and there were 2 repair bays when we bought it.
Okay. And this is where the magic happens.
It is.
So here the customer drives the car here, and you guys take the stuff off.
Correct.
Take the wheels
So
and tires
the
off?
customer will drive it out back. Sometimes we work on them outside, sometimes we work on them inside, depending on, weather dependent. So we have multiple tire machines, multiple balancing machines. We have the ability here to work on, when it's nice out, we work on 4 cars at a time, 2 inside with the lifts, 2 outside with jacks. When we're really busy, again, we have another bay, another 2-bay garage that we use as our overflow.
So when the people come in, do they need an appointment, or they just kind of show up?
Nope, we take walk-in service. You definitely get your busy times at lunchtime, and there's usually a couple of people waiting. That's why we opened up the second building.
Yeah.
And it's anything from a patch to a single tire to a complete set of 4. Mount, balance, reinstall.
So when it comes to the tires and the rims that are getting installed here, is the price pretty fixed? Is it based on like a tire size or
based on tire size?
So it's a very standard pricing. It's not like it's
very standard. So we have there's a price for the R&R, there's a price for the mount, there's a price for the balance, and then we have a combo price.
Okay.
So if you're going to get the full deal done, there's a combo price that gives you a discount from each individual service.
And if you buy a tire from your own yard, and have it brought over here from your full service yard, is there even a bigger discount, or is it just kind of a bundled price also?
No,
okay.
no. This is standalone pricing here. What we do offer across the street is if you buy a wheel and a tire from us, then we do that mount for free.
Oh, really?
If they wanted to do balancing or installation, they have to come over here.
But the mount will be for free over there.
Correct.
Okay, so it would never touch this profit center for you.
Correct. Unless they wanted it balanced and mount and put on their vehicle, then they could come over here and have that done.
Okay, got it. That seems like it's so these books are very separate from I mean, is it still run through Pinnacle, or is this
no, this is completely separate. This is run through a POS system.
So this is a very different yard in management software, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons that we went to primarily new tires here. One, there was the demand for it, and two, there was really no way to without invoicing out every set of tires from across the street. There was no real good way to segregate it. So, we like I said, we run off of a POS system here, supply new tires. The tire transactions for the used tires are done and settled across the street, and then our guys will bring the tires over for the customer, and then we'll do the installation here.
See, it's interesting. I truly believe that this is an area that most salvage yards don't touch, and I think it is a profit center because we have the raw material, the tire that we sell, and like you said, we're going to sell the material. And if we can't take care of it or install it for the customer, they're going to go down the street and pay someone else to do what we could have easily done right there.
I think it's a very natural segue for a U-Picket yard where tires are such a highly sold part type. But I think there's even a bigger opportunity on the full service side because I buy tires from full service yards because they can't sell them to their customers.
Sure.
So they have a lot of nice tires that come in on newer vehicles and they can't seem to sell them. So if you had the retail population, it may be something to explore.
Did you when you decided who to partner with for new tires? Was there any? You just found a local vendor, or you just found some tires you liked, or
we found 3 or 4 vendors.
Yep.
We still use 3 or 4 vendors. Unfortunately, it's just like everything else. You'd have to price check everything.
Sure.
So there are incentive programs by the tire companies.
Mm-hmm.
So certain number of vehicles per certain number of tires purchased in a quarter, you get some sort of discount, some sort of bonus check. So you definitely have to shop around, and then service. Most of the tire companies will deliver at least once, sometimes multiple times a day.
Oh, so if you need a special size you don't have in stock,
exactly.
Bring it in. Well,
we generally keep middle of the road tires, but if somebody comes in and they want a high end set of Pirellis or Hancooks, we can get them. We just don't always.
And they're priced accordingly based on the MSRP price or whatever they're. Okay.
Correct.
And if you can see here, guys, we're literally just across the street from Everett. We're Everett's World. Sorry, Everett's Auto Parts. This is amazing. What's next?
Full service.
All right, let's go. From Everett's Auto Parts and ARA, we want to say thank you for watching this.
We'd like to especially thank our sponsors, Allied Recycling and Rebuilders Automotive Supply.
If you like what you're watching and you want to see more of it, like and subscribe to our channel.
Well, thank you, everybody who's tuned in for watching. We're going to address some questions right now, and let me see here. There we go. And we did have a question come in from Donnie on YouTube. And Tom, this is a question about used tires. He was asking if you look at the dates on the tires, and what do you do about any liabilities that could result in selling used tires? And for those of you watching, we're going to take a few minutes and answer some questions. So just type them right into your comment box there, and we'll ask Tom and Jonathan the question.
So we do look at the dates on the tires. So we don't sell anything. We don't sell anything outside of the dates that you should not sell. There is absolutely liability. That's one of the things that we've really tried to drill into our manager. We have product liability insurance coverage, but more importantly, we don't want anybody unsatisfied or hurt So all of the tires, as we put them on, they're tightening them down with torque sticks and the whole, using the charts and tightening them down the right way. I find the bigger problem with the tire shop is especially dealing with the lower end or older vehicles and not newer stuff. Studs that are already broken when you're going to remove it, and you have a $20 tire mount that ends up costing you a couple $100 because they accused you of doing it, not regular wear and tear on their vehicles. So we're now just instituted. We're actually snapping pictures of every single vehicle. We take a picture of the license plate, the dashboard to make sure that there's no tire lights on, and a picture of each rim, because I'm tired of you scratched my rim, or it wasn't like that when I brought it here.
I bet. Thanks, Donnie. Anybody else have any questions? Just chime right in.
So a follow-up to that, Tom.
Yeah, Jonathan.
I know there's tires is a I've had to go price out tires at different places around here, and they're astronomical. It's probably one of the best deals from a self-serve facility is the opportunity to get really good tires at a really good price. What do you guys use as a date range? And if for anybody who doesn't know, the dates are on the tires. So educate yourself on how to find that date on the tire. If you're looking at this going like, how does Tom know the date? Well, they're on there. And some people just don't know that, which is okay. Just educate yourself. But do you use like a 10-year window or a 6-year window, or is it kind of a hybrid somewhere in there?
No, it's in the 5-year range. I don't know that we go much over. I honestly can't remember what the DOT ruling was for a number of years off the top of my head, but we go underneath that.
Sure. I think it was 6. So that makes sense saying it was 5 to keep it in the safe realm. And I think if they're 10 years old, they just have to be maintained and checked if they're already on your car.
Yeah, and we don't even mess with them. We toss them in the roll-offs and send them for scrap.
Yeah, makes tons of sense.
Good stuff. Well, Jonathan, do you have any additional questions? Because if we're not getting any questions from the viewers, we don't need to stick around much longer. But if you have any questions, we can talk about that.
No, I think it was, I stressed this in the tour, but I really thought it was a unique setup where Tom would remove the wheels before it went to the U-pull-it. And I kind of left scratching my head going, man, it saves a lot of labor when you're trying to pull the cars out of the yard, having to rush and get all the aluminum wheels off before you crush, right? Especially because it's commodity. You don't just want to throw it to the crusher.
You don't want to throw the steel wheels away either. It's HMS.
Also true. But I think it's just something, just to stress that point that if you've got a procedure that you've always done, be it leaving wheels and tires on the vehicles in the yard, it's worth the consideration of, should I change it? And just because I've always done it doesn't mean that's the way I have to keep doing it. That's what I keep reminding myself when I see a yard.
Yeah.
We've wrestled back and forth with that over the years, looking at a lot of self-service yards with vehicles up on stands. If we had a larger facility, warm weather climate, I would probably be an advocate of building stands right across the yard and laying the vehicles on. A little bit safer for the customers. You don't have to deal with the jacks. Having the wheels and tires off, all that stuff's open and accessible for a customer, and we get to control the parts. We can inventory what we want to inventory, and we can maximize the scrap on what we want to scrap. But with the turnover of our yard and the small footprint and dealing with snow, we just decided that stationary racks wasn't viable for us.
Got it.
We do have a question coming in from LinkedIn. How long do you think it took you to get your facility with its all these different aspects into where it is today? And can you break the different expansions? Like what, at what phase did you move? How did you add and add additional phases of the business? So
we've been here since 51. I'm the 3rd generation. My son is recently involved. So, looks like we'll be going a 4th generation. honestly, it was just continuous process improvement. You find a solution to an issue. My old man is really good at that, coming up with ideas. So we've just kind of tried to utilize every inch of space, maximize the workflow and the process flow, how it gets done, and we've been part of owners groups for 30 years. And every yard that you go to, you pick up all kinds of ideas and things that you can do. So it's literally been, or let's put it this way: when I got here in 1996, we had 18 employees, and we had a 2-bay block garage and a small wooden office. So now we have, dismantling buildings in the main office building and the scale house and the mechanic building, the tire center, the aftermarket warehouse, a used car repair facility. So, we just look for areas and things to improve every single year. We have a robust project list every single spring that we tackle, from spring all the way through to the end of fall, and then kind of regroup a little bit over the winter time and start it up again in the spring.
So when you started in '96, was it just a full service operation?
So no. So we were originally, my grandfather had a really robust parts business for its time, starting in '51. Unfortunately, he died really young, and his brother ran the business for a while. And he was my father and uncle were underage at that point, so he was not happy that the business wasn't going to be left to him, or he had no ownership in it. So one sale for Everett, 2 sales for Bill type thing. And then unfortunately he died when my old man was in Vietnam. So his half brother had it for a while. So unfortunately, when my father and uncle really got here full time in 1969, the place had gone from a level of a nice progressive yard down to just a straight scrap operation, and the facility was not good. We hired Howard Nussbaum in, I think, 1988, and he sat in our showroom for an entire morning. My father was pulling his hair out because it was costing him whatever it was, $1,000 a day back in 1988. And Howard sat there for the first 4 hours and did nothing but watch the customers come through the door. And we were completely full service at that point and didn't have a lot physically off the vehicles and inventory. And Howard came in and said, all right, you're now going to be a U-Picket. And that's how it started. So when I got here in '96, we were full-blown U-Picket. We didn't, we tried to keep a few cars off to the side, but we literally inventoried starters, alternators, compressors, engines, transmissions, and radiators. That's it. 6 part types were all that was inventoried in '96. So now we house, I think our inventory counts about 65,000 parts right now.
Wow.
So it's just been a natural progression of growth. We were fortunate that we had 2 abutting yards. We still have 2 abutting yards. There are 5 of us on the street, but we were fortunate enough to buy the 2 to one side of us and expand that way. And the other 2 yards that exist on the street, actually, we're now abutters with them because of the additional purchases. So we're very fortunate that we were able to grow and eliminate 2 competitors at the same time with acquisitions.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jen, from LinkedIn, for that question. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up. So make a little switch here and show this. So hold on a second, I got it. Fuss around a little bit.
Well, Vince, while you're doing that, I think it's important that anybody who's watching this, if you're going to be at ARA in Reno, which I hope all of you are, grab Tom. Tom and I will both be there, and we'll be happy to try to answer questions. And if it's a question pertaining to Tom, I'll bring you to him. We'll be floating around the trade show floor in the different sessions. But just because you don't catch us on this in a live Q&A, we're going to be around and at events. So we want to make sure that we educate you guys as best as possible and answer any questions we have, because the more questions that get asked, the better you'll be off. And us having to answer those questions makes us sharpen our skills too. So
yeah, great point. Yeah, really hoping everybody shows up in Reno. And like Jonathan said, find Tom, find Jonathan, find myself if you have any questions. If you're watching this after the live stream ends sometime in the next week or so. Speaking of the next week or so, next week, same time, same places, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern. We're going to do the third and final piece of this 3-part series where we tour Everett's, and we're going to focus on the aftermarket, the full service, the aftermarket, and the very unique sales environment at Everett's. You guys want to tease that a little bit and just kind of touch on the full service, what we're going to see out of full service, what we're going to see in the aftermarket, and what we're going to see in sales?
So sales is probably the most interesting thing because of the hybrid nature of this yard. The full service, I could possibly be a little more antiquated than some of the viewers that are on this that do nothing but full service. The aftermarket building is pretty nice. It's a newer, warehouse, fully racked. We concentrate on high demand vehicles and high demand parts only. So we just run our Pinnacle reports and stock aftermarket parts. So we have a new aftermarket alternative if we don't have it in the self-service yard or we don't have it in the full service yard. The most unique thing is obviously the sales counter. Everything happens all together in a mixed counter. All of the customers walk through the same front door. There's no segregation entrances for self-serve and full serve. So the salesmen end up dealing with retail customers, commercial customers, and inside both of those categories, they could be full service or self-service. So it's a very, and then there's phones ringing on top of that. So it's a very fast-paced, constant environment, and we run 363 days a year. We're only closed Thanksgiving and Christmas, so we run weekends, most holidays. We kind of operate more like a Walmart than necessarily a salvage yard.
Yeah, I think you guys are truly going to see that next week when we take the camera into the sales floor, and you're going to see what looks like an automotive department at a Walmart. It's pretty incredible. You can buy a generator, you can buy a new or used battery, you can buy tools. It's fascinating, and the salesperson aspect is certainly unlike any other I've seen at a recycler, and I've seen a few recyclers.
The only one that I've been to that was close, and I don't know how it is now since they sold, but was John's in Minnesota. John's was very similar. Harry Halepsik's place was very similar to what we do.
And, and Tom, I can test. I was at John's when it was John still, and it was that's a very good comparable to how you guys operate your yard. To add a little bit of flavor to it, just want to make sure we thank Allied and Raz, of course.
Thank you.
All the things that come through the You Pull It, Tom, there are certain product lines that are going to come to that You Pull It and go to Raz. And then obviously Allied, just big buyer of your scrap metal and different parts. So, just because it didn't get touched on necessarily in this session, there's still product lines from You Pull It that do find their way to our core buyers. And for you, Tom, that's going to be RAS.
And it is, and I think Allied was a little more present in the first session where we covered acquisitions and processing. Raz is a little more prominent in the third session when we go through some of the full service side. But there's always strange deals to be made. I mean, Allied, we sell a lot of product to Allied. Allied also at one point they have a salvage yard. They just, it wasn't really their forte. So we actually buy all the vehicles that Allied gets in through the door. So they buy them and we purchase them from them. We do our thing with it. And then most of the material goes back to them. So you just never know who you can make a good deal with. They're a shredder that had access to vehicles, and it was a good fit for us to buy and then ultimately resell back to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, without Allied and Rebuilders Automotive Supply, this series would not have been possible. So thank you to Raz, thank you to Allied for sponsoring all three of these videos. You're going to hear a lot more about Raz in the next episode coming up next Wednesday, when, like Tom said, when we take a look at his full service operation, where he dismantles his vehicles. We're gonna talk about Raz on that one. So for all of you who are watching this time, and all of you who are watching after we end the live stream, please check out the next episode. It's going to be great. You're going to enjoy it. Bring your questions, bring your curiosity, and we hope to see you all next week. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. You guys have a great day.
Thank you.